What's up, guys? My name is Merrick Cole. Welcome back to episode 2 of Starting a Clothing Brand. Today we'll be diving into the design process, which happens to be the part of the process that I'm most comfortable with. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so first things first, we're going to open up Illustrator. I like to personally work in Illustrator, and we're going to be working in inches. So I got to keep in mind that our screen is 20 by 24 inches, and our platen is 16 by 16 inches. So I might move to a bigger platen or make a bigger platen later down the road, but for now I'm going to work with what we've got. So keeping that in mind, we have to create our Illustrator file to those dimensions, so that way we're not running into issues later down the road. So keeping those dimensions in mind, so we have a 20 by 24 inch screen. That's with the frame. Without the frame, I think I measured 17 by 21 inches because the frame all around, if you include all of it, it's 3 inches, inch and a half per side. So we're going to do 17 by 21 inches, and then we're going to do a vertical orientation, one artboard, and then we'll do a CMYK color. I mean, there's RGB. This is more if you're doing artwork for online, but if you're getting it printed, CMYK is the one you want to go to. Raster FX 300 pixels per inch, and then we'll leave it at default preview mode. So let's open that up. Let's go ahead and add our rulers. Let's show our rulers and go ahead and show our guides as well. Show the grid. So this is a 17 by 21 inch artboard, which is going to be the amount of space that we can use for our screens on the inside. That's the total amount, but we want to have a 2-inch margin. So let's put a guide there, 2-inch margin with a guide here, put a guide, 2-inch margin here, 2-inch margin there. So being this is the size of our screen in total, 17 by 21, we want to have a guide, a 2-inch margin around the whole border, so that way we can tape off these edges and there's not going to have any ink seeping through. So our artwork will live within these guidelines here. All right, so we're going to create a new layer. We're going to name this shirt, just because I like to work with a shirt in view. We'll name this layer guides, and then let's add our shirt. All right, so the tricky part is going to be getting our shirt to be the size that we need it to be. So we've got an artboard here. Just keep that in mind. A little bit bigger. We need a little bit bigger. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just playing it by ear. So that seems about right there. So we've got now our shirt, we've got our guides, and then we've got the size of our screen. So everything that's in here in between these kind of bluish turquoise marks, all of our artwork can go safely. Anything outside of this, we're going to be cutting it super close. So let's try to stay within these guides. All right, let's start a new layer. We'll name this layer coordinates, and then let's add a text layer, and we can stretch this pretty far out. Go to properties. We're going to fill this with black. Let's use Helvetica bold, and I mean, we can get pretty big with this, so we'll start there for now. So our coordinates are going to be, we can fill that border, guys. Don't be too scared. So that looks pretty good to me. Kind of want to reduce the spacing just maybe a little bit. Just get it a little closer together. That's looking good there. Center that up real nice. All right. So now that we've got that, let's go ahead and add another text layer. We'll name this layer blank space. Let's go ahead and lock the coordinates layer there. Let's add another text bubble. Let's come across here. Same font, but on this one, I think I want to use regular. That looks good there. I want to decrease the spacing just a little bit, get a little closer together. I think that looks good. And maybe even take down the size just a little bit. And that looks good there. And let's center this up. All right, guys, I think I want to go a little smaller. You know, maybe I do want it bold. And I think that looks good there. So starting to come together slowly. So see where we go from here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and add another layer. Let's layer this, or let's label this spring, summer. And then let's just add another. Well, let's lock this layer real quick. Add another text layer, and I want this to go down here. And let's put spring, summer. Go over to properties. I think I want this to be a little bit more spread out. I think that looks good there. Then let's lock that layer. Looks pretty solid. Call this layer limited and add another text element. Want this to kind of go right here, but a lot smaller than that. Hey, that kind of fell right in place. That looks good. Make a copy of that. Call this edition. Yeah, I think that looks good there. And now that we've got this, let's go ahead and add something here in the middle just to kind of fill that space there. I like to hide the shirt. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can work within here. Then let's grab our pen tool and just kind of create something here. And I like to work down here and then move it in just so that way I'm not overlapping and I can kind of see everything here. I'm just going to kind of speed this process up for you guys so that way you don't have to wait through the whole thing. Alright guys, so this is what we've got now, and took a little bit of time and a little bit of fine-tuning and a little bit of adjustments, but this is what we came up with for our design. I'm pretty happy with this, guys. I think this will be good to go for our first design. And so this right here, this is actually a logo that's going to go on the front in the center chest. I just thought I would put it in the same screen for the whole design so that way I'm not wasting so many screens and whatnot. So I thought I would just use of the whole entire screen instead of just using a whole nother screen for a smaller piece of it. So but this is kind of what we came up with, and I think it looks pretty good. Here is what it looks like without the borders. Here's what it looks like without the shirt. It's just a design here. We've got our borders. Everything's within our borders. Everything looks good, and it should be good to go. I should be able to just send this design file over to Illuminous Graphics, and he should be able to just pull this right in. Just be sure whenever you're designing, like all your texts and all your objects and everything, expand everything so that way it turns it into a shape instead of lettering. Just because, like, if you're using a font that he doesn't have, or if you're using a font that if you go to a local screen printer and they don't have that font, they're not having to go search for that font and download it. It's just easier if you just expand your fonts into an object to make the system think it's a shape versus a font style. So just a little tip there for you guys. But yeah, this is what our piece looks like, and I think we're going to be good to go. Whenever you're printing, you always want to make sure you're doing it in black, because you want this to be printed off on your transparency paper in black, as dark as you can get it, so that way when it goes through the emulsion process, none of the UV lights are seeping through that. So anyways, guys, that wraps it up for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in for episode 2, the design process of starting a clothing brand. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me a message over on Instagram at Merrick. I'm a lot more active there. You guys can keep up with me there. Also, leave a comment below. Like, if you aren't subscribed already, like, what are you doing? Hit that like button, hit that bell button, so that way you guys can be notified of episode 3 of starting a clothing brand. Anyways, peace.